All right, today we're diving into a totally new kind of conflict. Seriously, it's not fought with tanks or jets, but with algorithms and, you guessed it, data. This is an invisible war, and it's being waged for our attention, our trust, and really our entire version of reality. So let's break down how it all works. To really wrap our heads around the scale of this new battlefield, I want you to start with just one number: 51%. Imagine this. In 2025, for the very first time, more than half of all the traffic on the entire internet isn't human, it's bots. That sets the stage for a world where reality itself can be mass-produced and faked on an unbelievable scale. And you know what? We didn't have to wait long to see what that world actually looks like. In 2026, a conflict exploded between the US, Israel, and Iran. But this war was fought on two fronts at the exact same time, one with missiles and very real strikes, and another, a cognitive one, fought with AI-generated propaganda. Now, take a look at this timeline. It shows just how fast things went off the rails. You see talks collapsing in February 2026, and then bam, joint strikes. Iran hits back almost immediately. But the really critical part is that first point. From June 2025, the 12-day war. That was basically the dress rehearsal. It was the first time anyone had explicitly combined real military action with deep fake propaganda. They were testing the concept for the much bigger fight to come. And this is where things just get completely chaotic. As real missiles were actually in the air, Iran was unleashing AI-generated videos of fake strikes on Tel Aviv, pumping them out in 5 different languages to make sure they spread everywhere. Social media was flooded with incredibly convincing but totally fabricated footage of advanced F-35 fighter jets getting shot down. But here's the thing. This wasn't a one-sided fight. Israel hit back with something called Operation Prison Break, deploying their own military deepfakes within an hour of their real strikes. The result was a fog of war so thick it became almost impossible to separate fact from fiction. So you see the problem, right? This isn't just propaganda as we've always known it. This is something else. It's faster, it's more personal, and it is way more destabilizing. And it all leads to this one fundamental question that really defines this entire new era of conflict. And this new era, this new battlefield, it actually has a name. Military and intelligence experts have a term for it. They call it the cognitive battle space. It's a domain of war where the main target isn't land or buildings, it's the human mind. This definition from NATO is absolutely key. Cognitive warfare isn't just about trying to feed you bad information. No, it's about messing with your ability to process information in the first place. The goal is to literally change how you think, how you feel, and ultimately how you act, all to get a strategic edge. It's about turning our own minds into the battlefield. And this distinction here is so important. Think of it this way. Traditional information war is about controlling the pipes, the TV stations, the websites, the way data flows. Cognitive warfare is about controlling what happens inside your head after the information gets through those pipes. It targets your biases, your emotions, your shortcuts for making decisions. It's not about controlling what you see, but how you make sense of it. So the big question is, how are they actually doing this? Well, the number one weapon in this new domain is artificial intelligence. AI has put the ability to create and spread these cognitive attacks on steroids. It's doing it at a scale and a speed that is simply impossible for humans to keep up with. Okay, one of the most brilliant and kind of terrifying tactics is something called data poisoning. Here's how it works. First, a bad actor, let's say Russia with its Pravda network, creates millions of propaganda articles online. Now, most people will never even see them, but that's not the point. The real target is the AI models that are constantly scraping the web for new data to learn from. The AI eats up all this poisoned content, and it corrupts its knowledge. So when you go ask a chatbot a question, it might spit back an answer that's secretly based on state-sponsored propaganda. And the worst part? That bad answer then gets published online, becoming a new fact that future AIs will then use for training. It's a vicious, self-reinforcing loop of disinformation. And this isn't just a theory. The impact is very real. Get this. By March of 2025, researchers found that this Pravda network had successfully contaminated major AI chatbots so badly that a full 1/3 of their answers to certain questions were pushing Russian state-sponsored narratives. Just think about that. The very tools we're all starting to trust for neutral information are themselves being turned into weapons. But, it doesn't stop there. It gets way more sophisticated. The same AI that can poison the whole well of information for everybody can also be used to mix a very specific, personalized poison just for you. This is the shift from just blasting out mass propaganda to what's called precision influence. Just look at some of the tools in this new arsenal. We found out about China's Galaxy system, which was building these incredibly detailed psychological profiles of US lawmakers and influencers, all to figure out the perfect way to persuade them. You got operations like Sneer Review, which uses AI to generate thousands of fake social media comments to make it look like there's a real grassroots debate happening. With just a tiny clip of your voice, they can clone it and make you say anything. And maybe most disturbing of all are these violence as a service platforms that use AI to find vulnerable kids and groom them towards violence and self-harm. Okay, all of this, it begs a really important question. Why does this new kind of warfare seem to be a bigger threat to open societies, to democracies? This table just lays out the core problem perfectly. The very things that we think make democracy strong, things like transparency, freedom of speech, open debate, they've now become vulnerabilities. All of that open data we create gives our adversaries the perfect raw material to build those psych profiles and target us. Meanwhile, authoritarian states, they're built on information control. They can shield their own people from this stuff while using our openness against us. It's a fundamental structural imbalance. And this quote from a 2025 security report, man, it just sums up the trap perfectly. If we try to defend ourselves by locking down information and restricting speech, we end up destroying the very principles we're supposed to be protecting. It feels like an unsolvable dilemma. So with all that in mind, where is this actually going? Well, the experts are painting let's just say, a pretty grim picture for the next few years. In the short term, basically right now, the gap between AI's ability to create fakes and our ability to spot them is just getting wider. Within a year or so, the consensus is that AI disinformation will have a decisive advantage over any defense we can mount. And long term, we're talking 2027, 2028, we face a very real risk of what they call an information ecosystem collapse, a future where over 70% of what you see online is synthetic. But you know, the ultimate cost here isn't technological. It's what it does to us, psychologically. There's a term for it, epistemic learned helplessness. It's that point where it becomes so hard, so exhausting to try and figure out what's real that people just give up. They stop searching for the truth and just retreat into whatever bubble feels safest. And that just erodes the shared reality that any functioning society depends on. And all of this leaves us with what might be the single biggest question of our time. In a world of synthetic media, poisoned data, and precision influence, the new front line of war runs directly through our own heads. So when reality itself is the battlefield, how on earth do we even know what's real anymore?